Okay. I think. Hello, and welcome to Plugin Along, a stream dedicated to LOTRO plugins. Little Redhead, it normally streams at this time for Life Beyond the Shire, but she's feeling under the weather. So, as mentioned in chat there. So, I'm going to jump on in her spot and get started looking at plugins in Lord of the Rings Online. So, just to recap, last time on Plugin Along, we fixed how the Subscriber Town Services plugin tries to look for that inventory item, the one called Subscriber Town Services. And we also mused on what it would take to track the Fateful Toolkit and other similar items, because the problem I have, and maybe you have this too if you have this item, is I will log off of the character who has it without remembering to put it back into shared storage, and then I'll log on to a different character and I wonder, where is that? And if I'm lucky, I just did it. I just logged from one character to another. But if I'm not lucky, it'll be the next day or the next week, and I'll log in and be like, I don't know where it is, and plugins like Alt Inventory aren't going to tell me. And I thought it might be nice to demonstrate what it would take to make a simple little plugin that just, when you log in, if you forgot to put your Fateful Toolkit or your Flowing Stone of the Tortoise, whatever, into your shared storage, it will tell you who has it. And that's all. It'll just pop up a little window and says, Affodil has your Fateful Toolkit. So, we were musing on what it would take to do that last week, and the answer was it was probably going to be bigger than the whole of the Subscriber Town Services plugin itself. So we're going to split it off into its own plugin today and see how far we can go with that. As always, feel free to jump in chat with your thoughts and questions about LOTRO in general or plugins in LOTRO in specific. That being said, there's some talking in chat. Saren says, good morning all, getting back into LOTRO. Brother finally made the plunge. Also, I got new glasses today. By a stunning coincidence, I too was at the glasses shop today. Not an optometrist, but the optician. I was getting my eyes measured. No glasses though. Saren says, he made a dwarf champ on Sting. I made a dwarf guardian. That sounds like an excellent pair. For being able to do a little bit of tanky defensive stuff and also being able to go smash. Lots of melee in that combination though. And that's great, actually. That's a good pair. The very first pairing that Little Redhead and I made when we were just jumping into Lord of the Rings online was, I want to say, a champion and a hunter. And what we found was in some of the places where we were a little overpowered for what we were doing. I remember in the Misty Mountains especially, level content of 45, and we were probably a bit above that, was that it was quite possible for my hunter to queue up, say, a Heartseeker on a random enemy and shoot it dead before the champion was able to close the distance to get to the thing in order to take a swing at it. And repeat for several monsters. So there was some frustration because at the time, I didn't have a solid concept of how I was playing the game, and so there are ways to mitigate that. Of course, maybe the range character is grabbing things that the melee character can then go smash on, and so maybe not do one thing at a time. Maybe do 7 things at a time, and count on the champion's various abilities to help clean that up. But, live and learn. So we've tried other pairings as well. Currently, we play a lot of Minstrel Hunter, which are both range characters. So there's that parity where we both have the same range to attack whatever we're attacking. And so we don't run into that problem with this combination either. And Snuffood also says, welcome back. If I didn't say it, I should. Welcome back. To LOTRO. Little Redhead comments also in text form that I'm jumping on early. And Fetter says, just got back in myself like 2 weeks ago. I feel like I've never left. Excellent. Yeah, it's interesting. I played LOTRO when it first came out for, a few months. And the memories of running through environments in Middle-earth stayed with me for long after I stopped playing. Being able to run around in the Shire or in Bree or even in the North Downs, which is about as far as I got with that character before I ran out of time and had to do other things with my life. So I think they've made some very memorable open areas for that. Skigosi says, I always forget where it is. I think in reference to the festivaling that Little Redhead is doing. This is the Fall Festival. So, looks like I would start at the Party Tree, says this quest. I'm going to sort my inventory there. Let's see. As summer draws to a close, the final crops of the year's harvest are ripe for enjoyment, which means that it's the perfect time for the Harvest Math Festival. One of the nice things in the appendices of Lord of the Rings is, like, there's 4 different names for this festival from the various different races across Middle-earth. Just little things like that. It's like, oh yeah, of course everyone calls it something different, but everyone has a harvest. Letter says, I love my champ, he just destroys stuff. Yeah, I've seen some people play champions very successfully. I am addicted to characters with range for most or all of their skills, and so Hunter and Minstrel both resonate with me in a way that other classes don't. I have a Guardian, which I love using for tanking purposes, but for trying to do damage purposes, I just keep sticking with range, because that's where my motivations are. Okay, so all caught up in chat. So what we want to do is... Okay, so if you don't know of it, if you bought the Ultimate Edition of the Fate of Gundabad expansion, and I did, then what came with that was the first character you logged onto got a bound to account item called a Fateful Toolkit. This gives basic abilities to do all of the various crafting things, although at a slightly less proficient value than the toolkits that you can make in around the Eastnet or Westnet of Rohan. Those will give you slightly better bonuses for critical chances, but I haven't seen anything beat the minus 4.5 seconds for farmer harvesting duration, so it still definitely has a use there. Even if the crit chance for other things goes down a little bit. So, Fateful Toolkit, very handy, but its biggest thing is, of course, the plus 10% wallet barter tokens. Festival and landscape through Gundabad. Very helpful when you're doing festivals. Especially because there's a very generous rounding system in place, which is to say they do the plus 10% and then they round up, or they take the ceiling of that to come to the next number. So if you would get 1 token, you multiply by 10%, that's 1.1 tokens, and that rounds up to 2 tokens. So for things where you're only getting 1 or 2 tokens, it's a very large percentage increase in the number of tokens you're getting. We're running around Mordor with our completionist characters now, and almost every quest that we complete gives you 3 tokens. Okay, well now with the Fateful Toolkit, they give 4 tokens, which gives you like a 33% increase in the number of tokens you're getting. And if you remember to move your Fateful Toolkit from character to character as you're doing those regions, if you're the kind of person who does those regions on multiple characters, one after the other, then you're going to see over time a very large increase to these tokens. Nothing game-breaking, but just a nice quality of life thing where you just have to do fewer of these daily repetitious tasks to get the same number of tokens. So, the problem we're trying to solve is I've logged off with a character who had the Fateful Toolkit in their equipment, and I would very much like to know where it is when I log into another character. There's 3 of these that exist. And I think the others are probably on characters right now. Let's see. That's part of the problem. So I'm going to pull up the wiki here. Let's see, wiki, LOTRO, flowing silver. Flowing silver stone and flowing silver stone of the tortoise. There we go. Okay, so this is, instead of a toolkit, this is a pocket item and gives you that 10% bonus on wallet barter tokens, but only through Western Gondor, only up through level 95 content. So That says landscape through Western. The Fateful Toolkit says wallet, festival and landscape through Gundabad. So I don't know that this applies for festival stuff, but it is a similar concept where you're getting a bonus on those tokens. And then there's a tortoise version of this, which will do the plus 10% and also disable your experience gain from monsters and quest completion. It doesn't say from crafting, but I think it also means crafting. I guess that's a question. LOTRO Stone of the Tortoise. Yeah. Stone of the Tortoise says experience gain from monster and quest completion is disabled. Also, all other sources of experience, in my experience. Okay, so these 3 items. I'm going to say Fateful Toolkit. Great. Okay, so these 3 items, Fateful Toolkit, Flowing Silverstone, and Flowing Silverstone of the Tortoise, I would like to have a little option that says, which of these do you want us to tell you about? Because maybe you have a Flowing Silverstone of the Tortoise that you want to sit on a specific character. You don't want to be told every time you log in that, oh, it's over there. So we want to opt in to any or all of these. Snafutu in chat says, I have a hard time with my champion doing on-level things. I get defeated if I don't pay enough attention doing the Frost Bluff instance. Yeah, I could see that being a problem. I actually have a hard time paying attention to people's health with the normal interface because I used a plugin called Mini Raid that just puts a consolidated box form of everyone's health. And I'm so used to looking at that to see how is everyone's health doing that if I'm not using it or if I'm just playing solo, Mini Raid turns itself off, and then I just don't pay attention to my own health because it's not in this little box right here, which is a problem. My survivability goes up with 2 people dramatically, mostly because I can see my health in the right spot. And Mini Raid, I think, will do it for just 1 player if you configure it right. I haven't. Okay, so where we were last time is that we had started making some changes to subscriber buffs, a reminder, to see what is possible. So I'm going to go ahead and bring all of those changes back. I'm not going to bring that stuff back. Merge conflict in main, merge in strengths. Yeah, I imagine so. Well, let's take a look at this. Next conflict. Okay, I want to take left and then right. Sounds great. Next conflict. I think I just want the right here. And then the final one. We'll go ahead and take left and then right. Maybe not the final one. My goodness, all sorts of conflict. And then let's take a look at these strings that are conflicting. Alright, we'll take the right and then the left. Great. So, I don't actually want to commit those. I just wanted to clear the issue. So, what changes do we have? Some of this was incorrect code for how to fix the previous problem. We won't worry about that. And the stuff at the bottom here, that was all Fateful Toolkit stuff. We're going to pull that into its own thing. Okay. Control handle so let's update neither of those. We don't want that. We do not need that. Check for subscriber buffs. We're not going to change that. And we don't need that. So, Fateful Toolkit logic, this is all going to get hoisted out. Awesome. Little Redhead says in chat, thanks for the well wishes, everyone. Yes, indeed. Okay, and then the strings here, the Fateful Toolkit, we went ahead and grabbed those, and we'll hoist those out as well. Okay, great. So we're in a good spot to come into our location for this. So this is in Documents, the Lord of the Rings Online, and this is going to be in Plugins, Cube Plugins, that's me, and we're going to go ahead and make a new plugin, Fate. So naming things is hard, and I want to have a plugin name, and this can be a placeholder, we can fix it later, but it's nice to get it right if we can. So what I want is a plugin name that indicates that we are trying to remind you or help you with these items that give token. So maybe it's bonus token item reminder or something like that. Teliran also says get well, Little Redhead. Awesome. So maybe it's something like that, in which case we're going to go ahead and copy the subscriber buff reminder plugin over to here. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Git repository that's in there. So we need to make additional changes. Why is there a Git repository there? That's very strange. I'm going to do something about that. Git repo. What is it here? And then move that out of here. Okay. Try not to delete things if I don't know why it's there in the first place. And then we're going to turn hidden items back off. Okay, they're hidden for a reason. So we need to come on in to the .plugin file and fix it up. So this is going to be 1.0.0. This is going to be bonus token item reminder. This plugin tells you if you forgot to put a bonus token item like the Fateful Toolkit into shared storage when you logged out. Tells you when you log in, if you forgot to put a bonus token item into shared storage, when you logged out of a different character. Obviously, if you log out and log back into the same character, maybe it's useful to say, you forgot to do this, but, you know, it's already too late. Little Redhead thinks, I think you should call it, Where is my blank? I think that's a broader concept than what I'm thinking of for this plugin, but fortunately, this name isn't a final name until later in the process. Okay, so we need a symbol for it, and I think the Fateful Toolkit is the most likely thing. So what I'm going to do here is go ahead and snip that out and see if it is the right size for my use. So I'm going to launch the GNU image manipulation program. with its brand new version 3.0 loading screen that weirds me out because it's different. Safudu says, would it be difficult for the plugin to alert you when you're playing in an area where the bonus isn't doing you any good, so you're reminded to put on a better item? Telerian wonders, tool locator. Well, the problem is the flowing silver stone and the flowing silver stone of the tortoise aren't tools, they're pocket items. So I want to be cognizant of that. Yeah, I thought about just being Fateful Toolkit Reminder, and then it also does these other things. But, you know, I don't know. So Snafuchu asks that. I think it is possible to know what region you're in, but I think if you're using the flowing stone, this flowing silver stone, then yes, it only goes up to level 95. So as soon as you enter a region that is Gondor or above, that is something that could be done. I think that is out of scope for what we're doing this week, but I think it's an interesting idea. So hang on a second. I'm going to invert that selection and delete all that and image, crop to content, and then how big is this thing? 32 by 32, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and export it as a TGA. So we're going into Documents, Lord of the Rings Online, Plugins, Q Plugins, that's me, bonus token item, Resources, and this is going to be bonus. What? No. Why would you do that? Oh, image manipulation program. You are weird. Okay, bonus token item reminder .tga. And for this in GIMP, you can just use the defaults here, export, and it should be fine. So let's go ahead and fix these paths and then think about source control as well. All right, so if I do a refresh on the screen arrow and I come into bonus token item, we can see the Fateful Toolkit icon here that we just captured, and that'll be a great starting point. So Telerian, I think yes, there would be some hard coding, but at the moment there are only 3 items, and we know which regions they do or don't work in. And so what we've seen with plugins like the Deed Tracker plugin is that it is possible to know what region you're in roughly by paying attention to the regional chat channel. So if you entered a regional chat channel that is above, like, oh, you're in Umbar, it is not unreasonable for a plugin to pay attention to that, know where you are, and then let you know, hey, you're using the flowing stone, and we know you have access to the Fateful Toolkit. Oh, neither of those work here in Umbar. Okay. Oh, you're in the Vales of Anduin region. Hey, you're using the flowing stone, but you could be using the Fateful Toolkit, because I know you have both. Now, what some people did, and I know Little Redhead, I'm pretty sure did this, is Little Redhead had the Fateful Toolkit on one server, I think Treebeard, and was looking at the bonuses from the flowing silver stone and thinking, well, that's silly to have both of those on one server. So that stone went to a different server, probably Laurelin. And so those stones have ended up, one's on Mary and one's on Perry for Little Redhead, explicitly because those bonuses kind of do overlap. And so there's not much point in having both of them on one server if you can spread it out a little bit, if you're actively playing. Telerian says, by the way, Little Redhead, what is your wardrobe size? Would you be excited if they added 40 more packs to wardrobe space? I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure Little Redhead, like me, has 440 wardrobe, and we could probably use more space. Let's see if the store will sell it to me. So yeah, I think that's an interesting idea, Snafu. But I am curious how many people have both of these items and both of them on the same server. So Fuji says, I just remember wearing the shield of the hammer hand on my back well beyond the level it was doing me any good. Yeah, that's fair. There's a number of items where you can out level them. There's some hoped items that you can get, like the pocket handkerchief, when you are a. I forget what causes you to have it. Do I have one of those? Maybe it's all subscribers. I'm not sure. Looks like I don't have access. And anyway, some players will get a pocket handkerchief, but I think it has a max level of something silly low, like. Okay, I'm hearing 50 in the coming from a little redhead, and the Glass of Aglarl doesn't have a limit, but only gives +1 hope. So yeah, there's definitely things out there where there could be plugins that are like, hey, by the way, I hope you're doing this with intent because it's not helping you. But the focus of this plugin for today is just on the Fateful Toolkit, Stone of Flowing Silver, Flowing Silverstone? Flowing Silverstone and Flowing Silverstone of the Tortoise. If we can get something working for that, we can always brainstorm bigger and better ideas. So let's go ahead and have an idea. Keep track of where the player is if they enter a region that where the bonus doesn't work, and they have another better item, announce that they could swap. Note at the moment this would be if they are using Flowing Silverstone and have the Fateful Toolkit on the same server. It's entirely possible I also split them up just because, yeah, unless you really want that Flowing Stone of the Silver, there's not a lot of compelling reason to have these on the same server if you're actively playing on multiple servers. Anyway, this is what I heard you say, at least for here. And then Snafutu also comments that other items with a max level, that if a plugin warned about other items with a max level that the character is beyond, that would be useful. What was the item that you were talking about? Oops. Shield of the Hammer Hand. Well, you got me curious. What is that? Oh, interesting. I'm so used to the earrings that have come from the later expansions, especially Fate of Good and Bad. Oh, that one's the Fleet Merchant's earring. And this new one, the Golden Lion earring. I didn't realize something that the Shield of the Hammer Hand existed. Or that it stopped working at level 85. Awesome. Stops work XP plus 25%. XP stops at 85. Yeah, that would be very something to come back and be like, wait a second. But that's really neat because that means I suspect you could combine that with earrings like this for the first 85 levels. And I bet it looks pretty cool. Why can I not see what it looks like? Oh well. No one's gotten a picture. Neat. Okay. That's probably searchable, right? Shield of the Hammer Hand. Oh, I imagine it looks like that. Cool. Does it say something about LIXP also? Legendary item. Nice. I'm going to star that. Nope. Apparently that's how to look at them. Okay. I'm going to star that. No? How do you star these things?
You click the star.
I'm told... Ah, okay. I clicked it badly. I have clicked it better. Hooray! Okay, now it shows up in my favorites. Neat. Okay, well, thanks for letting me know that that exists. That's awesome. Okay. Beyond the scope of today, though, but very interesting to think about. So, what we're going to do is come on into the source code. So, we're going to come on into open folder, and we're going to open the bonus token item reminder folder. Great. And from here, we know that we can remove stuff that doesn't matter. And I'm going to go ahead and clear the README. In resources, that's all good. In documents, we're going to go ahead and delete things that don't matter there. Okay, so remember we need to fill those out. And in resources, we have an extra TGA. That's fine. We'll get rid of that. Stufffoodie says that shield came with one of the expansions years ago. I didn't know you could buy it separately. Yeah, when Little Redhead and I were getting into LOTRO in early 2019, there was a 4-pack deal that got, I guess, the first 4 expansions then. So it got us into Moria and Southern Mirkwood and maybe East and West Rohan, something like that. A quad pack, maybe it was what it was. Let's see, LOTRO quad pack. See if there's any historical evidence of this thing. Moria, Mirkwood, Isengard, and Rohan. So we skipped any attempt to purchase things that were already included in that quad pack and missed out on any of the bonus items. But at the time, we weren't sure how much LOTRO would align with our interests and our objectives. And so we were kind of going cautiously on the spending our entertainment budget on this particular target. And now we know better, and we know like, oh yeah, that would have been fine to do. But at the time we were just sort of doing like 3-month subscriptions and getting the quad pack was a cheap way to get into Moria and see, do we like this? And now all that content is probably free, so we wouldn't need to if we were doing it today. Okay, so in strings, why are we getting a weirdness? We're getting it because when I was playing around with this, I had an error in closing braces. Okay. Yeah, Safutu, I didn't know the history of that shield, so that's good to know. It's interesting to see when they release something, it's like, this is exclusive. Like if there's wording like that, then they tend not to be able to give that a repurpose it in the future. They have to come up with some other way because there's that language. Like if they say something is exclusive, that does presumably inspire people to buy the thing. You know, there's a little bit of fear of missing out, FOMO, involved with exclusive items. That's a compelling part of the package. And if they then turn around and make it available to everyone, then what you purchased is devalued and false advertising and all that. So it binds their hands in unfortunate ways, because I would love, for instance, access to the horse quests that came out with probably one of the Rohan expansions that let you, just like the chicken session play, you can jump in as a horse and run around and do things. That sounds amazing. But that was exclusive content for whatever expansion it was, and their hands are kind of bound, from what I hear, on the whole subject of, well, they can't. Tillian says horse session play was Rohan pre-order. Awesome. Yeah, that makes sense, right? Okay. Tellurian says, if I recall correctly, there's a difference between the pack shield up to level 85 and the shop shield up to level 99. Well, that got me curious. Let's go to my favorites in the LOTRO store. Yeah, Little Redhead wants the cute dormouse. This Tellurian does say up to level 85. Tellurian says, the one with the cheese? I think it is. Is there a dormouse in here? No. This is 85, so it sounds in sync with the pack shield. I don't know if it is the same one or if it's slightly different. And again, if they were saying you get this cool item and they didn't say it was an exclusive item, that unbinds their hands, from my understanding, where they can be like, oh, okay, it's been a sufficient amount of time that we don't feel like we are causing emotional harm to those people who did get this thing. We could put it into the shop as well. And you can buy it a la carte for 995 LOTRO points, which, depending on your acquisition method, might be the equivalent of 10 money or so. So not the cheapest thing in the world. I would definitely recommend people look at like journeyman riding before they look at the shield. I think quality of life, that's up there. Okay, I'm gonna close that down. Cool. Nifty. So we're going to go ahead and get rid of buff name, inventory item name, window title. We do need window title, but we need it to be different. So this is going to be bonus token item reminder. And then we'll go ahead and it is time to talk to Wenda. No. But window text is not wrong, so we'll leave the idea of it here. Tillarian asks, which server would you like the dormouse on? I will leave it to Little Redhead to coordinate in there, but Little Redhead, I think, plays mostly on Mariotic and Peregrine servers, and does most of her role-playing on the Mariotic side of things. So, more than that, I cannot tell. Advanced Notice Label. That is not correct. Time labels, not time. Nope. And you know what? I said start with just Fateful Toolkit, but in for a penny, in for a larger unit of money. So, let's go get some of this data while we're thinking about it. Okay, so we're looking at the flowing silver stone. Awesome. And that's going to start with this. And we want the flowing silver stone of the tortoise as well. Now, we might actually put these all into a single table so that we can iterate through each of the items in the table. But for now, they're just going to be 3 things of the tortoise. Don't care about those. Oh, there it is. Great. Sugosi and Snafu to both say that the mouse with the cheese is adorable. Okay, so that's the values in English. What we can do here is flowing silverstone. Flowing silverstone of the tortoise. Let's grab that ID here. And flowing silverstone. Okay, and then the flowing silverstone value is here. Okay, cool. So what we can do is we can do a quick little search for those values. And Stein de Fleissende Silvers. Nice. Okay. Well, I've done that in the wrong order. And by doing this by the item ID, you make sure you definitely get the right one. And then, is there a Russian version of them? Sure, I'll take that as well. Okay, and then of the tortoise. Schildkröten. Yeah, like them. French and Russian. Little Redhead was chatting with Tellurian about mice locations and asking if Tellurian has a character on Mariotic. And Tellurian says, you do not simply move thousands of characters on one server. So yes, I have characters on nearly all of the servers. Yeah, the recent character consolidation definitely led me to having a lot more characters on Peregrine than I was expecting. Simon Fuji says, good grief, thousands, I barely have time to play 4. I don't know if this is Tellurian's technique, but our technique is to get a character to max level and then make a new character. And just repeat until you have filled up the server with max level characters. But I agree, I spent a lot of time on my completionist, and we're spending time right here, and let's see. Oh no, this isn't my completionist, this is an old character. I'm curious though. This character has been played for 1 month, 3 days, 19 hours, and 36 minutes. We'll see how much my completionist is, but it's more. Sanfuti says, none of mine have ever been max. I have one max level character over on Mary, and that is because we were trying to do some delvings with Little Redhead's character, and so we used one of our mini Valars to get up to, I think it was 130 for me and 140 for Little Redhead, and then we got the rest of the way to 150 from there. Somebody says, none of mine have ever been max, and I'm a lifer. That's fair. There's so many things to do that aren't leveling to max level, you know? This character is actually going to be our max level character on Parry if we get around to it. We've been playing a lot of Valheim lately, though, so that absorbs the time. You got to go breed those boars. Make more, and then get their hide. Okay, so we have the words that we're looking for if we're doing a pattern matching for an item in your equipment, inventory, or vaults. We have some IDs here just because I think it's nice to know definitely what we're talking about. I'm going to grab the ID for the Fateful Toolkit. as well, since we're in there. Okay, and deleting these, what I was thinking. Jane says, well, I was a bit exaggerating, but you run into problems when you have characters on Belikir, Gwaihir, Aphrodite, and some carrying over from Treebeard, Shadowfax, Anor, and Ithil. I hate getting characters lost or deleted. I'm with you that on the deleted. I have the very first character I was playing in this game. I got up to level 45 or so as a minstrel in the first year of the game, and minstrels did not feel then as overpowered as they are now, or I just didn't know what I was doing. Probably both. And so that character, as a monument or testament to time, it's still there. Like, it's a level 45. I have no reason to have a man minstrel on Peregrine, and I can't bring myself to delete them quite yet. So I transferred them over. But I really like playing hobbits in Lord of the Rings Online, both from an aesthetic standpoint, / lore, and just, yeah, it suits my what I'm looking for right now. I've tried other races and other form factors, and it doesn't work. Doesn't work nearly so well for me. Okay, so we know what we're looking for, and in Maine, we had some thoughts here on what to do. But first of all, what don't we need to do? A lot of it? Okay, is session play? I think we're going to keep this, actually. I think we're going to move these things after session play, at least. Okay, so these were the design notes. Let's go ahead and make new design notes. Figure out if for each item where we care about on this server, figure out if it is on this character if not, and if shared storage is available, check there. If not, and if vault is available, check there. If not, and the save file says it is somewhere else, let the user know. Once shared storage and vault are available, update our information. When keep track of what is equipped in Pocket and Toolkit. Keep track of what is added or removed from inventory. And pay attention if, no, yeah, okay. Keep track if of what is added or removed from Vault, and keep track of what is added or removed from shared storage. To the extent that it involves our items, keep track of what is equipped in Pocket and Toolkit. In Tool, what is added or removed. Okay, so if it's not the things we care about, obviously we'll throw that information away. We're not trying to be an alt inventory kind of thing. We just want to know if we see one of the things we care about, where was the last place it was put. And then when unloading, if we saw any of the items, update that information. Well, save out that information at server level. Load a server level save file for where we think each of these items was last seen. Awesome. So that's the general idea of what we want to do here. And this may not happen today. We'll see. Okay, so get client language, and we don't need effects. Having this on doesn't give you an effect. The stone of the flowing silver stone of the tortoise probably does actually give you an effect. Do I have a tortoise? Stone of the tortoise? I have a stone of the tortoise. These are bound to character once you use them. Sad. Which is a big moneymaker for LOTRO, so I know why they do it. Okay, so when I equip that, we can see we do have a halted experience effect, but we can see we do not know why we have it. So if I had a stone of the tortoise equipped or a flowing silver stone of the tortoise equipped, they're both going to give that halted experience effect, so we don't know. Tellurian asks Little Redhead, on Merotic, where should it be placed? Item is bound to account. So if Little Redhead can reach out to Tellurian with a neighborhood and a house, I'm sure we can make that happen. Tellurian, Little Redhead is feeling a little under the weather, so may not have the bandwidth to do that. So if she can reach out to you maybe next week or maybe on Discord in the intervening time, that might be easier than trying to manage it during this stream. I'll let her chime in if it's different than that. But she's she's got the sniffles and is bundled up, so we'll see. Okay. So the halted experience effect, I don't think it's going to be very useful because maybe it tells you, oh, you should look and see what your item is, but yeah, we already know we're going to look at the items, so it doesn't give us any extra information. Okay, Tellurian says, totally okay, but I checked. I have one available. Amazing. That's awesome. Yeah, I assume you get one on each new character you create on a server, with the only problem being that you probably have a full number of characters on that server. I have thought about when the extra character slots were discounted in price, I thought about getting at least one, so I had the option to make a character over on Perry, because I'm full up. I don't know. Are they still discounted? Bonus character slot, 20%. Oh, sure. Let's do it. Okay. I got a little wiggle room. Okay. Says, well, I can't buy more slots. Yeah, that is a sort of a problem when they are like, no, you can't. What are you kept at? It's like 50 per server or something like that? Okay. We are going to not worry about effects. And so we don't care about effects added. Check for subscriber buffs. I think we're going to burn this all to the ground, really. Is backpack item subscriber town services. Yeah, I think we need to start over. Check for subscriber town services. Okay. Tellurian says, if I recall correctly, I have 64 character slots per server, but I heard someone has 66, which is nagging me. I know, what'd you miss? Go get it. Alright, so we're going to do debug timer. Make timer delay, don't repeat. 5 seconds. Start timer, backpack time. We're gonna think about whether we care about that. I think we might actually want to do something like this because we're gonna be looking at our backpack and we know we can't trust the contents of it right away. Okay, so get backpack item added. Yes, we care about this. Maybe not the code though. So we're gonna go ahead and comment it out for a minute. Handle subscriber buffs. I don't think we care about that. Create window. Sure, we can hang on to that. Show window, register for unload, great. Save settings, load settings, kill that, and Fateful Toolkit. Stuff to appreciate Stellarian's dedication to character slots. Okay. That, fortunately for me, for my wallet at least, that's not a place where I felt compelled to focus my LOTRO points. I don't know. I have a few thousand saved up though. Got me curious. So I can see 37 character slots. I've had 22. So everyone was buying one slot each time they were on sale, and one Christmas they had them at a 75% discount, so I bought the rest of them available. Yeah, it's a reason to have some extra LOTRO points around, just in case there is a deep sale like that. Anything interesting with sales? Well, I don't see any wardrobe slots. Oh, that's just going to take up the rest of the space. Okay. Yeah, I was talking with Little Redhead about the passive, the enhancements for characters that you can get these little tomes for, and it turns out on my completionist, yeah, there was that 75% off sale one, and I think it applied to stat tomes as well. So I was like, okay, I'll just get them all, and then I'll never have to think about it again for this character. Oh, I got a stat tome book, good. That goes somewhere else. So that made sense. Okay, so one thing I don't understand in LOTRO is how to talk to the vault and how to know if the vault's available. So that's something I'd like to learn sooner rather than later. So what I would like to do is, I don't know, can I even load this thing or is it in a terrible state? Bonus token. Okay, yeah, no. I need to come on up here and bonus token item reminder. Okay. Advanced notice. Oh, options, yeah. Grant label. I appreciate that, but we're gonna pull that out, create options, control, set back color, set height, and kill the rest of it. Okay. Next up. Debug's not there? Why not? Because I changed it to be a capital D. Okay, we can now actually load the plugin. That's cool. Trillian says, having about 20 character slots empty made the server move a lot easier. I created 10 characters just for moving my houses. That's awesome. Zibar BW says, the deeds window is almost impossible for me to read. Is there a plugin that can help with that? Give it a better background, maybe. So, first of all, let's double check that we're talking about the right thing. If you are talking about this deed log in-game, I assume you're talking about that and not the redesign one, which is a work in progress. Okay, so you say yes. So, this is a skinnable window, and so those people who have UI skins installed might be able to toggle through those and find one that maybe works better for them. I don't have a good one available, so I'm just going to pick one at random, the Delving Hills, and see what happens. So, because this is a skinnable window, I gotta ask. Nope. You may find that different UI skins provide different backgrounds that do make it more or less readable. Let's come into Mordor. I actually don't find this easier to read, but there's a lot of other ones. Let's go to Durin's Folk. Light black. Now, on my machine, there is a bit of a delay when you click this to when something comes, when it actually successfully changes. So just give it a moment. Oh, that's nice. So the Erebor skin gives it a darker background. You might find that that makes it easier. If you're not familiar with this, you can find the JRR skins package at the links that are in chat there, lotrointerface.com. Just search for JRR skins. Looks like it's that first link, the info 581. Let's go ahead and open that up. Now, JRR Skins has gotten so big that those files can't actually be hosted over at lotrointerface.com. So what you'll find here is a link over to Ko-fi, or Ko-fi, however you like to pronounce it. And you can download the actual skins from there. When you have downloaded them and put them into the correct spot, which is Documents, by default, Documents, the Lord of the Rings Online, UI, and skins, and you'll be putting them in there. So you can see my JRR skins collection is in there. Once you've done that, you will need to exit Lotro if you're still in there completely to the desktop and relaunch from there. Now you can see, now that I've done that, I can switch these skins without needing to exit Lotro. I can just come in and say, oh, I wonder what green leaves is like. Cool. And you can change them. But Lotro isn't looking at that UI directory except when it first launches. So if you make any changes to what is in there, you need to exit Lotro completely and come back in. There's no refresh button for skins the way there is for plugins, to my knowledge. Main theme. Let's try it. So some of these skins, the windows will be more opaque or less. They'll use different background colors or whatever. And if you have the inclination, the time, the energy, the ideas, you could always take one of these skins as a starting point and kind of run with it and say, oh, I see what you did there. I like this, but I want more of it, or I want less of it. And you can change these skins yourself to make your own custom skin. Now, that may be too much work for a lot of people. I have never tried to do it, but it is possible for you or a loved one to do it if that's a desirable. What's Umbar like? Ooh. I like the flatness of the background here. I feel like it makes the text a little bit easier to read. Your mileage may vary. The white hand? It's okay. What is that? I don't know what it's changing, but it's changing it really fast. No XP. Ooh, my goodness, that's something. I don't think I like that, but it may be perfect for someone. Oh, that's nice. The BGM custom short I don't like everything that's going on down here at the bottom, but I do appreciate that the background makes the text much straighter to, much more easier to read, I think. That's fascinating. Okay. Great question. I hope that helps. Oh, Little Redhead says the Yule one also has a dark background, and so does, I think, Greenwood. Where is Yule?
It's down here in front of us. There.
I see the dark background of the windows that you're talking about, Little Redhead. The background parchment, if that is a part of the problem of the readability of the window, didn't change in that particular one. But as we see, there's a wide variety here. Greenwood. I see green leaves.
Maybe green leaves.
Little Redhead says, I think there are snippets of the images on the JRR page, so you might get a sense of which ones without having to flip through every single one of them. Awesome. Well, great question. Plugins themselves cannot interact with in-game windows like this. Skins can change their look and feel to some extent, as we saw just now. So there's sort of this two worlds in Lord of the Rings modifications. There's plugins, which are little programs that run inside the game, and they can create new windows, and they can create new functionality or change existing functionality in some way. But the only things that plugins can change as far as the user interface is concerned is they can replace your bag with a different bag, and in that case they're not changing this window, they're just saying instead of that use this. And same thing with your character portrait, and I think your targets and your fellowship and that kind of thing. These portraits can either be supplemented or completely replaced by plugins. But any other window in the game, your deed log, your quest log, whatever, that's outside of what plugins can do. But skins can affect how those windows look. They can make them bigger or smaller, change the background, that kind of thing. And so for a while, you could see crafting windows maybe that were wide enough that all these buttons were on one row. Now, they are now anyway because of the way they've redone the crafting. But for a while, I think the default was that they weren't all, like if there was like one up and two down or two up and one down. It's been a while since I redid this, so I've actually forgotten. So different skins would have different sizes for these windows, and you can get a skin that puts the map back down to its default 1024 by 768 resolution instead of the game stretching it all the way out to whatever your monitor size is. All sorts of fun things you can do with the UI through skins. But thank you for the question. Hopefully that helps, or at least sends you in the right direction. Okay, so Vault. And yes, there is a gallery. Neat. Cool. We're going to go over to the API documentation and get a sense of shared storage. It's a flag if the bank is currently available. Okay. Inherited from bank. What's a bank? Container of items that are only accessible as designated bank locations. Fair enough. The contents of the bank can only be used while interacting with the banker. When the bank is not available, various methods will return default values and the items will not be available. Now, of course, we have portable bankers for those of us who are subscribers in the subscriber town services. But these do act as if there's a little person standing right next to you attached to the bauble. And the most obvious way to provoke this is if you get another bauble.
Could I speak with you a moment?
Yes. So I want to do this correctly. So if I open up this subscriber town services, it expires in 14 days, and then I throw it away. Then when I try to interact with this window, Oh, my shared storage was already open. Anyway, whoops. What you will typically get is a you are too far away, as if you are trying to interact with a banker and you've stepped too far away. And so I think under the covers these are implemented as there's an invisible person who's right next to you, and when you throw away the bauble, they disappear. And if you then try to interact with open your vault, it doesn't work. So what I want to do is start looking at bank stuff. So let's come on into main and make sure that our debug is set to true. Okay, toolkit inventory false, toolkit equipped true, awesome. But is Fateful Toolkit in backpack? That is something where we're going to be tripped up by that on login. True and false. Okay, something else is wrong. Let's search for those places where we messed up the spelling. Okay. Great. Okay, so what I want to do is play around with the bank vault. So local player. We have a local player object. Great. How do we get this bank? Well, we have shared storage. So is that part of local player? Storage. Get shared storage. Yeah, all right. Debug. Shared storage. And that's local player get shared storage. And we're going to say is available. And we also want to do that with our vault, which is vault. Awesome. Get vault is available. All right, shared storage true, vault's true. Now, let's go ahead and log out and log back in. And what I'm expecting to see is that shared storage and vault will both be false. So, manage plugins, and we want to make sure, yeah, that can load on for everyone. And we're going to go ahead and enter Middle Earth. Shared storage false, vault false, as expected. Now, that was just when I was starting up. What if I unload and reload? False, false. Okay. So, if we say local player get shared storage dot is available changed equals function sender args, we can then say debug is available changed. And we'll dump the same thing. This is shared storage, so is available. And then I want to do essentially the same thing, but for the vault. So get vault is available changed. Get vault is available. Okay, so let's take a look at that. So what I'm expecting is if I do shared storage, then that has changed to true. Now, what I notice is that changed to true before this was fully loaded. So what I want to do is get shared storage. And this is a type shared storage. Okay. Is available changed. Item added, item refreshed when the items refreshed. Event fired when the content of the bank has been refreshed. Well, I wish I'd known about that before I'd done this. Okay. And this is an event, so we can say local player get shared storage dot items refreshed equals anonymous function sender args, and that's going to be essentially the same thing. I want to items refreshed, and do I actually care about anything else? Get count. Hey, little one. Yeah, she's got stew. She doesn't need you sniffing at her food. Okay. So we're going to get the count. And then I would like to know when things are added in case this counts as that. Get shared storage, item added equals function sender args. Same basic idea. Item added, and then we're going to go ahead and just dump out args because I don't know what that looks like. Okay, so load that back up. And, oh, I didn't do this for Vault, and I should probably do all the same things for Vault. Okay. So, if I open Vault, is available changed got to true, but I feel like the actual items refreshed happened at about the same time. So I didn't see anything coming in or out, and that's different than how the backpack works, and that's fine. Sure, I'll take a gift. Thank you. Great. So what I want to do is log out, and okay, I got both of those two added. Great. So we're going to log out and log back in and get a sense of that. And okay. Okay, so the plugin is loaded. And what I'm looking for specifically in the shared storage, because there's so many more items, is do I feel confident when I get a specific event, and I think that refresh one might be the one, that I can then go and, you know what? I can do this better. Is available changed, and then let's get the count as well. Yeah. So, yes, I would say the items refreshed is what we want to pay attention to know that it is now safe to iterate through all of the items. I'm curious though. Didn't get a refresh that. Oh, I did get a refresh. Fascinating. So each time you open this up, it's going to kind of internally update that. But after the first time, we can kind of assume that the cache is going to be consistent because there's no way to change shared storage without your character doing it, in which case you'll see it, or another of your characters doing it, in which case you are logged out, definitionally. But one could imagine a scenario where you could have multiple characters of a same account logged in, and you would need to update this sort of shared state of what does this look like. But we have one character at a time here, so that doesn't matter. Interesting. So coming on over, and we can see Isabel changed, true, and items refreshed. That one went fast enough where is available changed saw the correct number. Okay, that refreshed. That refreshes, but the number didn't change. So items refreshed. If we see that trigger, we can go ahead and review what's going on in there, and we can assume that we'll start getting events. Cool. Okay. I know a little bit more about these things. So we wanted to care about the vault and shared storage. We know how to look at the backpack already, and we know how to look at your character screen. And by their powers combined, I think we'll be in a pretty good space. So the first thing is to pay attention to where it is. And for that, yeah, we want something like, okay, here were some ideas that we have. Yeah, Tellurian previously suggested tool. Okay. So we only care about things entering a space. The toolkit is now in shared storage. Definitionally, every time it enters one place, it is left somewhere else you have control over. Your character screen, your inventory, your vault, whatever. But we don't actually care where it was. We're not going to keep that kind of a record. We only care about where is it going. Excuse me. I may have to do a shorter stream today myself. It's been a busy day. Okay, so if we have an item added call on the backpack, okay, and we have an item equipped on, yeah, see, we have an item unequipped. I just don't think we need that. And so, item added, we care about that, and item refreshed, we care about that. Okay, check to see if items are in shared storage. Great. Is this added item one we care about? Question mark. Don't care about is available change. Same thing here. Check to see if items are in vault. I guess I'll say the vault. And then item added. Is this added item one we care about? Question mark. Okay, let's review in-game if that covers everything we care about. So, if I move the toolkit into my inventory, I can see item added. If I equip this, I can see equipped Fateful Toolkit. If I move it into my vault, I get an item added. If I move it into my shared storage, I get a backpack item added as it transitions its way to shared storage. And then I get the shared storage item added. And if I put it back into here, we can see it temporarily goes into the backpack and then goes into the vault. Okay. And then if you right click and move to it, you do not trigger an item added or an item removed because it's never left the vault. I don't know if plugins can access where in your vault it is, and I also don't think I care too much. I feel like a quick little search is going to find something relevant. Okay, so we know of the 4 different things we care about. Awesome. Let's clean things up a little bit, because what we don't have is a central place to say, is this it? So and also, where on earth are my flowing toolkit things? Flowing silver. So I'm going to search for flowing silver in my saved off plugin data that I save off before I stream because I don't want it to get messed up by what I'm doing. So I'm just going to do a quick little search. No matches. Case sensitive. Why would I do that? Okay. Elko flowing silver. No, flowing silver stone. Okay, that was on Crick Hollow. Awesome. Anywhere since then? Peregrine. Great. On whom? All characters. Yes. Awesome. Well, let's fix that then. So what I just did was restored, it was off screen, but I restored those save files. So we're going to come into the LOTRO Plugin Compendium and download Alt Inventory. Alt Inventory. Come into here and load that. And what we're going to see is, if we go to everyone, flowing silver, stone of the tortoise. Okay, but what about the other? That one's on Grommen? That one's on Grommen. That one did go to a different server. I think Grommen went to a different server. Let's find out. And let's get this flowing silver stone available one way or the other. Oh, no, Grommen's here. Great. Once upon a time, I had a spreadsheet or a checklist where I remembered where each server went to each server. And I don't know where it is, but I've forgotten all the information. Okay, so Grommen has a flowing silver stone. Lovely. Not today, Grommen. Okay, and we can actually see, well, I can see in my chat window under here that an item was added. Cool. Okay. And we're going to log out of there and go to Wenda. Well, it is fortuitous that all three of these are on the same server. That's going to be excellent for plugin testing. Otherwise, you can always fake it out by just picking a different thing, swapping in that name for the thing that we're searching for in our strings, and debug it that way. So you don't have to have these items. But it's helpful. Okay. So in our vault, we have the flowing silver stone in the extra toolkits bucket. That's funny. Do I need extra toolkits? That's not even a toolkit. Oh well. Yeah, it wouldn't hurt. Great. Okay. So, would have been nice to have done that before the stream, but well. We now have the things that we are looking for available in shared storage. I wonder if inventory has that. Oh, you know, I don't actually care if it's in your inventory. I just care. Yeah. Okay. So we don't have to check in your inventory when we log in necessarily, but at some point we do need to know to show a thing saying, hey, you left it somewhere else. So we do need to know that. I'm going to go into the documentation here a minute, just a minute. Just backpack. Item added, moved, removed, size changed. Okay, so we don't actually have that same refreshed sense. Okay. Okay, so what we care about is it an item? And if so, where is it? And I have this register for equipment changes that I don't know. I'm not doing that with anything else, but these could be hoisted on up. Okay. I mean, that is equipment. That is specifically equipment. I'm gonna kill that for now and probably put all of these into a separate function later. Okay, so what we care about, else if args.index equals turbine.gameplay.equipment.pocket and is match. What on earth is match? Oh. Yeah, I don't like that. So if we just rename is match to is toolkit, I think that'll make the most sense. And then if we say is flowing stone, flowing silverstone, then what we want to know is flowing silverstone, and then the last one, check if item is the toolkit. Okay. And then we'll do that for the Stone of the Tortoise. And I don't know that I like having these three separate functions, but I think I need to play with it a little bit more to get a sense of what design I like better. Of the tortoise. Okay, so we have these functions though. So is toolkit, else if this, and is flowing silverstone args.item, then debug equipped flowing silverstone, and then we just need to duplicate that to be is flowing of the tortoise. However, yeah, I think a single function that returns which item it is or not is going to make more sense going forward. This is just a step by step approach to not having anything to having something that makes sense. Now, since there's only currently 3 of these things, I think, in existence that we're going to care about, it's fine that they're apart. But if you can imagine them adding a 4th or a 5th or a 6th, you start thinking ahead and being like, oh, adding that 6th one's going to be really annoying. Adding a 4th one's going to be a little annoying. But if you just have like an array of things that you just add another thing to, then suddenly knowing which equipment spot it goes to, and that's kind of it. Like, what is its name? And I think, yeah, we could make it so adding another one is a lot easier. And in fact, if we didn't include the flowing silverstone of the tortoise now, and made it so that adding that was like the first proof of concept here, we could verify that it works. Oh, that's funny. I had exited out of WhatsApp and then I rebooted, so it didn't matter. Okay. So that is a thing we could do. What's up with this if? Okay. So, else if is one word in lieu of. We have the ability to detect each of these things, and that's a starting point. So, item added. Do we know what this is going to be? It's going to be a that. That's going to be an index and an item. Oh, it's going to have an item. Okay. So, args.item. I'll say now in backpack. Okay, we don't care about any other things being added to the backpack. Shared storage, items refreshed. Okay. We're going to come back to that. We're going to do the items added first because we can just do some copy paste, which is a sure sign that we're doing something wrong, but we'll do some copy paste to at least get something functional. Now in shared storage, and gotta say item added was this. Do we know what that is? I don't know. We're going to see if the args from that work. And coming on into the last one, now in a vault. Okay, let's just see if that's working the way I think it should work. So, we're going to go ahead and open up shared storage. We can see it's available. Open that up. So, okay, we can see that didn't work. Okay, none of that is working. And then finally, okay, an error message at least. Equipped that, equipped that, equipped that, equip, and then we're not seeing the other stuff, and that's fine. We wanted to go ahead. Oh, we're checking args index. That's not going to work. So that's get equipment, yes, but backpack, obviously not going to work. And shared storage and vault. Okay, so we only care about the index if it is equipment, and just so we aren't paying attention to as much, it doesn't really matter for what we're talking about. Okay, so Fateful Toolkit now in vault, flowing Silverstone now in vault, flowing Silverstone now. Oh, the first one was tortoise. Okay. Now in backpack, now in backpack, now in backpack. Now in shared storage. Now in shared storage. Awesome. And then going back, equipped that. Equipped and equipped that, and the flowing stone is back in the backpack. We can see that too. Okay. So, as we are moving things in and out, wherever it is showing up, flowing Fateful Toolkit now in shared storage. Nice. Okay. It's interesting that from your equipped screen, it can go straight to its target, but from Vault, it has to go through Backpack to get to shared storage. Okay. We now have diagnostics that show us we can tell where each of these things goes to of these 4 locations. Cool. So for each of the items in shared storage, we want to go ahead and do for I equals 1 to get shared storage, get capacity. Okay, local item equals, you know what? At some point, we might want to pull off shared storage into an actual variable, but all right, get item, this is I, and then if item and is toolkit, debug, found Fateful Toolkit in shared storage. Oh, I can't return, can I? No. Great. So we can find each of those when we go through shared storage. And we can do the same thing in the vault with so much duplicated code. So that's going to be get vault. All right, let's see if that at least compiles. Yep. So we're going to go ahead and set this up so we can log out and log back in. The toolkit is going to go over there. The flowing silver stone is going to go over there. And I want to have the inventory code as well. An inventory code, remembering we are going to that's misnamed. Okay. So the timer, that function, let's go ahead and call it is Fateful Toolkit in backpack. And we're going to go ahead and log out, log back in, see that it's going to say it is not in the backpack, and then it's going to identify that it is in the backpack. Okay, toolkit and inventory false, toolkit equipment false, shared storage false, vault false. What's causing this backpack timer to go? Nothing. Actually, I say nothing is. Start timer when something was added to the backpack. and if we found it, we stopped it again. Let's play around with that a minute. So, get backpack item added. Cool. Start timer. That, and then that'll be fine. Actually, backpack loaded equals false. And then the first time this timer goes off, we can go ahead and say equals true. And then if not backpack loaded, then start timer end. So we only are going to start this timer once at the beginning as we're loading up, or once if we load up after we've logged in, then sure, it'll start once. But it shouldn't keep on firing. Okay, let's log back in and see if it works better. Come on. Any day now. Okay, token inventory false. What have I done wrong? Alright, well, before we log back out, let's figure it out. It's possible there was a short enough amount of stuff. We have item added, yes. Let's go ahead and account for... No, it should have started here. I did start there. Okay, I'm concerned that I have misunderstood something about the backpack code. So we're going to go ahead and add that back in. And why isn't the timer going? Oh, I stopped telling it to. Okay. It is now doing is Fateful Toolkit in the backpack. Okay, so backpack function check backpack. And then not item added, but items refreshed. So items refreshed, we just want this code to be here. And then check backpack. Okay, and then we would like this to be used in here instead. In fact, we don't need that. Okay, let's try that out. Let's try that out. 3,000, 4,005. Debug. Timer. You know what? We're changing that to 1 second for right now. Okay, timer is going off. Excellent. I'll leave it at that. Check backpack. Great. Shared storage. Really? Did I do that? And that is getting an item. Awesome. Found silverstone, other tortoise, and shared in backpack. Silly copy paste errors. Okay. Wait. No, that was very silly of me. We're going to go ahead and do the check vault here, too. Yes, in chat, Rose says, how do you get the Fateful Toolkit? I've got a bunch of universal stuff. It does say Gundabad Ultimate Edition. Yes, so the Fate of Gundabad. LOTRO, Fate of Gundabad. And it's... I don't actually know if it's still available for sale. Let's find out. But with the Fate of Gundabad Ultimate Expansion, something like that, Ultimate Fan Bundle, you get the Fateful Toolkit. That's in the Ultimate Delving Supplies, it looks like. Yeah, it's not a cheap thing, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend that someone rush out and get this. As I mentioned, it's not a game-breaking thing that you must have. It's a nice quality of life enhancement where it takes a little less time to get those tokens that you're looking for. So, if we come take a look at it, Gundabad isn't showing on the default. Gundabad! So it is still for sale. We can see in the previous expansions page, I've dropped the link there in chat, that each of the 3 Fate of Gundabad expansions is available for purchase. Now, again, this isn't necessarily a small number, but I tend to think of my MMO experience as coming out of my entertainment budget. Every month I'm going to do something fun. And so the annual subscription for LOTRO, is just part of that, and dollars per hours of entertainment, it's a pretty good bargain. 130 money may or may not be within your budget, but if it is, then you're going to see that Ultimate Delving Supplies with the Fateful Toolkit in the Ultimate Fan Bundle, but I don't think... Yeah, you'll get the Gundabad Toolkit, which also comes in the Ultimate, but not the Fateful Toolkit. Now, it looks like they do have an upgrade thing, so if you did get the Collector's Edition or Standard Edition of Fate of Gundabad and are thinking, oh, now I wish I had gotten that higher package, it looks like they have that system where you'll only pay the difference, or some amount of difference, for upgrading from a lower version. Snafuta says, for me, it's worth it for the festival token bonus because I like festival things. Snafuta says, do you get 10 shared storage too? That could also be a consideration. That's a great question. Store... What? No. Unclear. Several of these expansions also come with the XP Accelerator. That's where I have this... had an earring from that. Earring of the Dead City, for the Fateful Gundabad earring. That one goes up to 130 though, so I have upgraded to the 140 and the 150 earrings, but they're a welcome boon regardless when they cut out. Okay, yeah, so your mileage may vary on whether this is worth it for you as an expenditure. For me, I've had the Fateful Toolkit now since this came out, which was 2019? 2020? So I've had the Fateful Toolkit now for almost 4 years. So the per day cost of having that Fateful Toolkit, one could just knock that out. $129.99 divided by 365 divided by 4. So the per day cost of having that expansion has now been 9 cents per day on average. If you like doing things that way, it's a silly thing to do, but why not? Potino Bowen says hello in chat. Hello. So that is where you get the Fateful Toolkit. The Flowing Silver Stone came from the Before the Shadows expansion. Probably the ultimate version of that, but I'm not sure. Oh, yep, Ultimate Edition supplies and Ultimate Edition supplies. So, same thing. They're not game-breaking items, but they are lovely quality of life items. So if you happen to have the money and want to support the developers at Standing Stone Games for making this game that I hope we all enjoy, I certainly do, then that is a way to do it and get a cool thing as a bonus. Downside of the Fateful Toolkit is that, assuming you only bought one expansion of Fate of Gundabad expansion, you get it on one server, which for me, because all of my characters I was playing for the most part were on Treebeard and are now on Peregrine, that's not the worst thing in the world, but I do miss it when I go on to other servers, and you're only going to have it on one server, just the way the server system works. So watch out for that. Okay, well, I hope that answered the question for Rose in chat. And again, if you are a plugin developer, you don't actually need to have these items, because you can always come into strings and say, oh, it's not actually Fateful Toolkit, it is banana, or whatever you happen to have in your inventory. It's how about drum? Drum. So now if I load up the plugin, I'm going to see I do have a Fateful Toolkit in my inventory. Found Fateful Toolkit in shared storage. Found Fateful Toolkit in the backpack. Cool. Now, obviously, there isn't a Fateful Toolkit in the backpack, but there is a drum. And we were able to just lie. As the plugin author, we were able to lie and say, no, we've got it. So don't think that you need to have all the things in order to develop plugins. You can just fake it. And then just remember to delete that faked out item before you actually ship it out to other people. So now if I unload and reload, we're going to see that when the timer goes off, that it found the Silver Stone of the Tortoise, but not the Fateful Toolkit, because we corrected the name of the item. So don't let not having things stop you from going down the plugin path if that's what you want to do. You can fake it during development, and then swap in the real thing for other people to experience. Okay. Well, we're actually a little over 2 hours here. Poutine, I got started early because Little Redhead was feeling under the weather. So I've been streaming for a little over 2 hours here. And, it's been a long day. So I could go a lot longer, obviously, on before we get a functional plugin here. But I think we've made a lot of good progress. In theory, we now know, or have the ability to know, that the Stone of the Tortoise and the flowing silver stone of the tortoise, the flowing silver stone, and the toolkit, we can know where they are. And we can track how they move. So if I move the flowing silver stone into here, we know where it is. If I figure out where I put that toolkit, Fateful Toolkit, plugins. We can track that it went into the backpack. If I equip one or more of these things, we can track that. And ideally, at the end of the day, what we're looking for is that these things went into shared storage. And for each one of the ones that we're tracking on this server, if we don't see that message for an item that we think is in one of these other 3 places, on the character, in the vault, or in the backpack, that's the information we need to record. For each of these 3 items, which of these 4 places is it in? And I think recording it as in shared storage, that's just a nice, why not, since we have that information? Because you could imagine a command line tool like, /where, that just spits out the location of each of these things. We could add that as part of a plugin. We can respond to command line parameters. We can register our own. So /where or /where bonus or something. /bonus. Currently not a command. That could be our command. That would print out where these things are before we even have loaded up our shared storage or vault or whatever. So I think that's an idea. I'm going to write it down. Ideas. Add a command like bonus that points out where the plugin thinks each of the 3 items are, excluding ones we don't care about for this server. I think it wouldn't hurt, actually, to keep an eye on where these things are if we see them. Because then if they're like, oh yeah, I guess I do care about the flowing silver stone, we can be like, well, cool, it's in shared storage. We already knew that. So I think keep track of all of them if we see them, but only care about the ones that in the options we say to care about. And so as we're crafting this output message, do we care about the Fateful Toolkit? Do we care about the flowing silver stone? Do we care about the flowing silver stone of the tortoise? And for each one of those, add something to the output message. Okay, so ideas. Make a new repository for this code to go to. Finish stripping out subscriber code first, then commit everything. Cool. So these are all things, and then these ideas can go into GitHub as issues against this repository. We're just not quite there yet. Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and bring the stream to a close shortly. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, now's a great time to get them into chat. Otherwise, we'll get to them next week. And I'm going to go ahead and ponder if there's anything else that I am forgetting. So, I think definitely need better code to abstract. Now, stop hard coding 3 checks for 3 specific items. set up a table with each item, which backpack, no, equipment index they are, and iterate through for each time we're checking for them. Yeah, I think that'll make more sense. Otherwise, this code already is driving me batty. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? This should be a single better check. Same thing with here. Same thing with here. Now, check vault we can do. So, check vault. We can at least call that. Shared storage. Check shared storage. Yep. And then for the backpack, okay. We had some ideas here. I didn't fully read through them. Should probably check the comments. Check comments in main.lua starting at line 265 for other ideas we have missed. Yeah, I don't need to save that right now. That's for later. Actually, it's a great idea to not keep things around in a buffer just in case. So, to do, move to github.txt. We'll put those there. Okay. I think that gets us to a good breaking point. So that is everything we're going to cover today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on this exploration of LOTRO plugins. I hope to see you here next week, probably at the normal starting time. And until then, keep plugging along. All right, bye-bye now.